out of the box, Jeet Kune Do becomes a very, very vital and important subject to be covered on out of the box thinking. Now, a lot of people are unaware that Bruce Lee was doing his PhD in philosophy. People know him as an entertainer, people know him as a great martial artist. Very few people know that his philosophy is very, very popular and very useful. Now, I would like to say a small quote which will summarize about Jeet Kune Do. The rigid and the unbending is the disciple of death. The soft and the yielding is the disciple of life. An army without flexibility will never win battles. A tree that is unbending will be easily broken. The hard and the strong will fall. The soft and the yielding will overcome. The mind of a perfect man is like a mirror. It grasps nothing, it reflects everything. Thus, the perfect man can act without effort. This effortless effort is what we call Jeet Kune Do. Now, about Bruce Lee. Now, everybody knows Bruce Lee. There's very few people who are unaware about Bruce Lee. He was 5'7", 57 kgs, but could he pack power in that one punch? You know, he was incredible. Like the Incredible Hulk, he was really, really incredible. Bruce Lee used to initially practice Wing Chun Kung Fu. That's what the traditional martial art that he started with. So this particular gentleman called Wong Jackman, he approached him, challenged him to a fight, and they both got into a fight together. And somewhere, you know, into the fight, he started running. Wong Jackman started running away. So Bruce Lee is chasing behind him, hitting the back of his head, and the fight left Bruce Lee very frustrated and upset that, you know, he could not create a knockout. He comes back with swollen knuckles and bleeding all over and very upset. So he goes, you know, for a ride into the river, and there, out of frustration, he starts hitting the water. Absolutely upset that, you know, why could he not achieve what he wanted to do? He hits the water and he realizes that the water is yielding to the force. Neither is it hitting him back. He's not getting hurt, but it's getting displaced. So that's where the theme of water comes into the play. That water can crash, water can flow, be like water. So you put water into a teapot, it becomes a teapot. You put water into a cup, it becomes a cup. So be like water, this is a very, very important principle to be used, which can be used anywhere. So that's a very important theme to be utilized. Be like water, adapt. So, you know, water can crash if you keep a stone, like you watch the beach, right? The waves of the water, they can crash through the rocks and create dents into the rock. It also at the same time finds a small crevice and goes around it and finds a way around it. So water is a very, very strong, it's not weak. Bruce Lee taught a few students Jeet Kune Do, who certified them into Jeet Kune Do instructors. And one of them is Richard Bustillo, who's our mentor, and he's a grandmaster. He recently passed away. His demise is, his loss is felt by everyone, and he's someone that is sorely missed. So why I'm here today? I'm here to talk about Jeet Kune Do philosophy being applicable everywhere, at work, at family, for your adversity, for routine, for maybe buying a cell phone. So how is that going to work? I'm going to talk about that. The JKD motto, if you see, I'm even wearing one. It's a yin-yang symbol, okay, with two arrows going around it. They particularly signify using no way as the way and having no limitation as limitation. Now, yin-yang are two forces, softer and harder. Everything in the life, everything all over the world is Tao, that's the balance, that's the yin-yang. So if maybe you're traveling on a bridge, the bridge is made of very hard material. But if you see it's balanced, it caves in a little bit as you travel over it. That's the suppleness that is required, otherwise the bridge would break with the weight. So that yin-yang is extremely useful. If you see trees, you know, where snows it snows all year round. The tree, you know, it is the shape of it. It takes the snow. It doesn't break. It yields to it. So yin yang is a very important concept, that you adapt and you mold yourself and do not be rigid all the while and do not be pliable all the time. So it's like men and women, right? So women are supposed to be the so-called weaker sex. But if you realize they are more pliable, they are able to do so many more things. They are known to be great multitaskers. They can handle family, they can handle work, they can handle friends, they can handle society. So many fields, they handle professional, you know, whatever field they're working in, so many aspects, that you realize that that's actually the stronger force. The being soft and yielding is important, and being firm and hard, not important, it breaks. So somewhere we have to try to reach a balance. Now I'm coming to the main part about Jeet Kune Do. The philosophy of Jeet Kune Do is primarily meant to make your life better. It is meant to express yourself better, and it's meant to get your success or outcome faster, rather than having a detailed, long, tiring journey. So I'm going to talk about that. So how do we go about this? First is you research the truth. So whatever suppose you have an aim, you have a goal, you have maybe to decide what career you want to take, maybe you want to decide which college you want to pick up after your graduation, maybe you want to change your career, maybe go to another zone. How do you go about it? You research the subject. But when you research, you do not use your own bias. You do not do it on basis of convenience. You do not do it on basis of maybe I'm going to gain, maybe I'm going to, you know, lose. So let it not be a biased judgment. Let it be researching. Now, when you research it, you don't know anything about the subject. That's why you need to research it. You research it under a competent authority, under guidance of somebody who's competent in that field, so that you know that, you know, you're going to select things which are accurate. When you research, you're going to get a lot of data. What do you do with this data? You make a chart about what is useful, and you make a chart about what is not useful. What are the limitations of that particular art? So you absorb what is useful and you reject the limitations. Now this is also can be done according to my whims and fancies. So we don't want to do that, because it has to be an objective analysis. So how do we absorb and how do we reject? We use 6 principles: simplicity, directness, effectivity, open-minded, and fluidity. We'll come to these 6 main reasons how you're going to absorb and reject in some time. After you have absorbed and reject, you have got a concise plan of action, but it may not necessarily suit you. So you have to develop it specifically to yourself. Maybe the region that you stay in, maybe the zone that you travel in, maybe the way you study. So it is tailor-made to each person. And ultimately, after you conclude, a lot of people spend a lot of time thinking, and then what do they do with it? They put it on the back burner. Well, let's discuss it some other time. No, you have to apply it. You have to, whatever you have decided, you have to apply it and use it. That's why you spend so much time deciding, thinking, etc. One very crucial part before you apply, you decide whether that path, that decision, that goal that you have picked up, whether it's righteous, whether it's going to harm anybody, whether you're going to hurt anyone, or whether it's going to be unlawful. So it has to be on the righteousness. You know, the samurai, I don't know how many of you are aware of it. The samurai followed a particular code of conduct that's called the Bushido. So they followed certain principles like courage, spirit, truth, honor, duty. So this was foremost in mind. If you have to do something, you have to keep whether it's going to be rightful or no, and then act. So the last step before action, you have to check whether it falls under the righteousness principle. So if one were to say, I want to make money, so I research the truth. If I would take service, I take up business, or I take up a startup, or whether I'm going to be working for somebody, and suppose I decide I can just simply rob. Why do I have to work? I researched and I found that robbing is the most easiest. It is simple, it is direct, it's effective, it's open-minded, it's unusual, it's fluid, I'm going around to the turn. But before I apply that, I check. Is it right? Yes. No. So I dump it. So if you look at it, people, if you have to think out of the box, sometimes maybe the box itself offers you the solution. So there is no fight against or for. It's what works for you at that particular point of time. Now, coming to the main principles, what we are going to use to, conclude, what to absorb and what to reject, is simplicity is the first. Simple, it's as simple as simple, being simple. You use less resources. The lesser the resources, the more efficient. Like if you see a cycle is more efficient than a motor vehicle. Why? Because less parts, less complications, less resources. So simplicity, whatever parts you take up, try to see if it fits into the criteria of simplicity. Directness. This works most of the time, being direct, being frank, being honest. If you have to speak to somebody, don't SMS the person. Just walk up to the person and talk to that person. It's going to work better. So directness, in Jeet Kune Do, directness is shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Now Bruce Lee said, why should I pull my hand like this and then punch? Where my hand is, I can punch from there. So there is no requirement of taking a tortuous line and going forth. So directness, be direct, make the plan that you make. When you eat food, you eat from the plate straight into your mouth. You don't go like this and you eat. That's being indirect. Effectivity. Whatever plan you make, whatever goals you decide on, whatever solution you come up with, make sure it works. There's no point in making one great castle. At the end of it, it's just collapsing or not serving any purpose. So effectivity, that's very important. So in martial arts, what we do is, if I'm going to get into a fight with you, I have to hit you where it hurts the most. And I have to get you down fast. Otherwise, there's no point. I can make 100 points, tapping you here, touching you there. But if I'm not going to get you down, it's not effective. Being open-minded, very, very important. When you're a kid, when you're a youngster, you're very open to new ideas, to new concepts, to listening to everybody. As we grow older, we develop a particular style of thinking, a particular modus of thinking, and we reject all other methods. We reject all other options. That limits you, that keeps you very like a horse, with the blinds over here, so you only see what's in front of you. Rather than remove the blinds, and you can have a much greater view, much bigger view. So be open-minded, listen to everyone, listen to newer ideas. Maybe something is going to strike you, maybe somebody is discussing something else, And like Bruce Lee was sitting in a restaurant, he was having a cup of tea, and two people were having a conversation that, oh my God, this guy is calling me and he's going to waste my time and I don't want to do that, he's going to be a real waste of my time. I don't want to have that meeting, but I have to have that meeting, and so on and so forth. Suddenly Bruce Lee gets up, he goes and makes a phone call. He calls up the person who was going to be coming to waste his time. So he's open-minded, he heard somebody else's idea and he applied it. So you never know where you're going to learn a new idea and apply it to yourself. Till you do not apply it, the idea is floating in the air. You absorb it, you use it, it becomes yours. Fluidity, very important. Do not oppose everything. If you are finding you're unhappy at work, you're unhappy with your college, you're unhappy with your parents, you're unhappy with your friends, well, something is wrong with you. Everything cannot be bad, right? Something has to be good. So fluidity is you move in the direction that, it gives you least resistance. There is no point fighting head on. Even fighters, they don't fight head on. They move around. If somebody attacks you, you move. You don't stay there. It's not a fight, battle of the wills that, let me see who's stronger. No, that's not the way. Similarly in life, there's no battle of the wills. You have to make the most of your moment. And if being fluid is easy, okay, mom shouting at you, just go and hug her, give her one kiss. Okay, it's fluid, yeah, she's happy, you're happy, the moment is gone. So be fluid, don't be rigid, don't be fixed on your thinking, be able to move, you know. And so summarizing the Jeet Kune Do concept, research the truth, absorb and reject based on the 6 principles of simplicity, directness, effectivity, open-mindedness, and fluidity. Tailor-make it to yourself, to your situation. Check whether it is righteous before you apply, and ultimately apply. So the whole goal of the talk being that if Bruce Lee could come up, you know, he discarded everything. He said, if somebody punches me, I'm going to punch him before he punches me. If somebody kicks me, I'm going to punch him. If somebody comes to grab me, I'm going to punch him. If somebody comes to attack me with a knife, I'm going to punch. He reduced everything to one. To one punch, that one intercepting punch. Jeet Kune Do, by the way, means the way of the intercepting fist. So I'm here to just give you an idea of Jeet Kune Do and how it can be applied. It's not a religion, it is a philosophy which can be applied. It sounds nice, but more importantly, it works. So if it's useful, please use it. And the whole concept of Jeet Kune Do is extremely intriguing. It can be applied to your life. Please apply it. And hack away what's useless. There are many, many other concepts which can be discussed, but time being limited, I have to keep it to the bare minimum. You know, you hack away what's unessential. Like, you know, the house, you have 100 things. Check in 6 months, have you used it? Not used it, dump it. That doesn't mean dump your husband or boyfriend or whatever. So that's about Jeet Kune Do. And there's a lot of things that can be learned from Bruce Lee, learned from his concepts. And he was an extremely successful individual in his field. And he kept this principle of forever evolving in his art, which keeps it growing rather than limiting it. He didn't want to even name it anything. So with this, I say thank you. And I will say, knowing is not enough. You must do. Okay, thank you.